Long Island's quiet shoreline hid questions no one could ignore tonight. The beginning was not a beach discovery, but a disappearance first. Search teams entered the marsh looking for Shannan Gilbert that morning. What they found redirected Long Island's investigation for years afterward. Ocean Parkway became a corridor of evidence and unanswered grief. The case stretched backward before investigators understood its earliest shadow. Behind every file number was a person already missed deeply. The first confirmed beginning would later point back to 1993. Sandra Castilla's name changed the timeline decades later for investigators. Her case showed the pattern might have started far earlier. Investigators would later connect distant places through patient forensic review. Long before headlines, fragments waited inside old county records quietly. Families searched for answers, while the public learned almost nothing. The suspected timeline widened, and certainty became harder to claim. Karen Vergata's identification would later restore a name, not peace. For years, Jane Doe numbers concealed human lives and histories. Every unidentified remain kept a family trapped between hope and dread. The shoreline held evidence, but silence protected too many gaps. Valerie Mack's case later connected Manorville and Gilgo Beach formally. Separate discoveries began forming one disturbing investigative map over time. Some patterns appeared similar, but investigators avoided simple conclusions then. Jessica Taylor's remains deepened questions about geography and repetition again. By 2003, the suspected timeline had already crossed multiple years. Long Island's roads connected ordinary life with hidden vulnerability nightly. Maureen Brainerd Barnes disappeared in 2007, leaving urgent unanswered calls behind. Her family kept asking why the investigation moved so slowly. Melissa Barthélemy vanished in 2009 before Ocean Parkway became infamous. Her disappearance brought pain, fear, and disturbing reported phone calls. Megan Waterman disappeared in 2010 after traveling for work nearby. Her family's search joined a growing pattern of disappearances then. Costello vanished weeks before the shoreline discoveries began. A witness later described a vehicle investigators would never forget. The green Chevrolet Avalanche became one of the case's hinges. But in 2010, the picture was still dangerously incomplete still. Shannan Gilbert's emergency call sent police toward Oak Beach that night. Her disappearance remains disputed within the larger Gilgo narrative today. Searchers first expected one missing person, not a hidden corridor. December 2010 turned brush, sand, and winter silence into evidence. The Gilgo Four were found near each other along Ocean Parkway. Their proximity forced investigators to consider one coordinated offender possibility. Yet the victims' full lives could not fit headlines alone. Families remembered daughters, sisters, mothers, friends, not case labels still. The first discoveries brought national attention, but not immediate answers. Reporters arrived as investigators guarded every fragile detail from public. The winter beach became a media landscape of microphones and grief. Police maps showed distance, but families felt only waiting still. March 2011 widened the investigation beyond the original four victims. More remains appeared, challenging the idea of one simple pattern. April 2011 added new uncertainty across Suffolk and Nassau counties. The case became larger than any early theory could hold. Some victims were identified quickly. Others waited years for names. Identification became its own investigation, slow and deeply personal still. The phrase serial killer entered public conversation with heavy consequences. Officials balanced public fear against evidence they could actually prove. Speculation grew faster than confirmed information could responsibly follow still. Online theories filled gaps that official records had not closed. investigators faced pressure from families, media, and unresolved forensic trails. Every delay made trust harder for grieving relatives to maintain. Sex worker stigma complicated coverage, urgency, and public empathy nationwide. The victims' work never reduced the value of their lives. Responsible storytelling begins by refusing to turn pain into spectacle. By 2011, Long Island had evidence and deep uncertainty still. Shannan Gilbert's remains were found, but questions remained contested afterward. Officials later said her death was not conclusively linked still. Her family challenged conclusions and continued searching for answers still. The investigation's public story became fractured, emotional, and disputed still. Different remains suggested different possibilities, not easy certainty for investigators. Early theories separated the Gilgo 4 from other discoveries nearby. Some wondered whether more than one offender used the area. Others believed one predator could explain more of the map. Investigators needed evidence, not patterns that only looked convincing still. Years passed while the beach held unanswered identities and timelines. Old leads aged, but families refused to let names disappear. Administrative failures and secrecy became part of the case's history. Later reviews questioned whether cooperation had been delayed or limited. The FBI's role became another disputed chapter in public memory. Trust eroded where institutions seemed slower than grief demanded still. The case needed fresh leadership, sharper tools, and renewed urgency. In 2022, a new task force re-examined buried assumptions still. Investigators returned to witness details that once seemed incomplete still. The Chevrolet avalanche detail moved from memory into evidence still. Records began linking places, phones, and movements across years. Cell tower analysis narrowed questions investigators could finally test still. Burner phones suggested planning hidden behind ordinary daily routines still. Digital searches became windows into a suspect's alleged private obsessions. DNA evidence brought scientific pressure to an aging investigation still. A discarded pizza crust helped investigators compare genetic material still. The ordinary became extraordinary when evidence met patient surveillance still. Massapequa Park entered the story through one familiar suburban house. Rex Heuermann lived there while working as a Manhattan architect. Public shock grew because the suspect seemed publicly ordinary still. Investigators searched the home carefully, methodically, and for days still. Neighbors watched institutional history unfold on a quiet residential street. The arrest in July 2023 broke years of public uncertainty. Heuermann was first charged in 3 Gilgo 4 murders still. Authorities also described him as suspect in Maureen Brainerd Barnes's death. The charges were allegations then, not the final legal truth. Court papers outlined phones, vehicles, searches, and forensic comparisons still. Families faced relief and caution in the same breath still. The investigation did not stop with the first indictment still. January 2024 brought a charge for Maureen Brainerd Barnes today still. That filing completed the charged Gilgo 4 connection today still. June 2024 widened the case to Jessica Taylor and Sandra Costilla. The new charges pushed the alleged timeline back to 1993. Prosecutors described a planning document, but courtroom proof still mattered. Valerie Mack's charge later extended the case's formal scope still. Each new count reopened grief families had carried for decades. Unanswered questions remained around other discovered remains and possible links. Not every person found near Gilgo was tied to him. Karen Vergata's identification brought another name into public records still. Her case showed how long anonymity can delay mourning still. By 2026, the courtroom replaced speculation with admitted responsibility still. Heuermann pleaded guilty to 7 charged murders in April 2026. He also admitted killing Karen Vergata during the court proceeding. The plea avoided trial, but did not erase every question. Families heard admissions after years of silence and uncertainty still. Justice arrived legally, but grief did not end there still. The earliest beginning now appeared connected to Sandra Costilla in 1993. That date changed how viewers understand the Long Island case. The case was never only about one beach discovery still. It was about years when vulnerable women were not protected. The theory of a single offender became stronger for 8 victims. But responsible investigators still separate proven admissions from open cases. Unidentified victims still deserve names, context, and careful attention still. Shannan Gilbert's story remains distinct, contested, and deeply painful still. The unanswered cases prevent any simple ending from feeling honest. Evidence solved part of the darkness, not all of it. The shoreline remains a map of loss and accountability still. Every document now carries both answers and missing spaces still. The investigation's beginning was older than many first believed still. Families were forced to live inside delays they never chose. Families remember the person first. Media coverage can illuminate, but it can also flatten lives. Names must be spoken carefully, without reducing them to evidence. True crime should ask who was ignored, before asking who killed. The Long Island case warns against dismissing vulnerable victims still. It also shows why cold cases need sustained resources still. Forensic science mattered, but so did persistence and re-examination still. One witness detail eventually helped unlock years of silence still. Old evidence can speak when investigators decide to listen still. But answers delayed for decades remain a form of harm. The final record is legal, but the moral record continues. No timeline can fully measure what families lost here still. The beginning was not one clue, but many missed warnings. Ocean Parkway still looks ordinary under gray morning lights still. That ordinariness makes the story harder, not easier to bear. The names remain after the headlines move somewhere else still. What was solved still leaves questions the living must carry. Long Island's shoreline keeps its silence, but not its innocence. Beyond the plea, investigators still owe clarity to unidentified victims. Every unanswered name reminds us this case remains unfinished still. Justice is not silence. It is continued remembrance and truth. The beach is quiet, but the questions still breathe still. The final shadow is not mystery, but preventable human neglect. What remains unresolved deserves patience, accuracy, and sustained public attention. Long Island's beginning still asks who society failed to protect.